Okay, so let's fix a few things that we have already done over here that aren't really up to par. For example, what we have with the grid objects, okay, we have multiple things that could be used across different elements inside our scene. For example, get current node and all of these. Okay, and then we have some specific things that will only be on characters or anything else that you might want there. Okay, so I think it will make a little bit more sense if we rename this to character or unit or whatever. So let's just go and do it in here, and let's call this unit or unit controller. That will do as well. Then let's rename this from here, from the Solution Explorer. Okay. Then I'm going to create the superclass, which we're going to call a grid object. Which means let's we have to open up again unit controller, and let's split this into a vertical group so we can see what we can get from this. So first of all, for sure, we can just take the get current node, okay, and this will be on the superclass. The interaction slider is pretty specific to a unit controller. Okay, it's going to be running a few behaviors on this. Of course, we could just say that, yeah, we could just make its own controller that will follow the player and so on. But for now, let's just leave this at that. Let's see, find the direction of item. I think for this one as well, we can encapsulate this into its own method. And load the direction there. Yeah, we need it. Use random node. Yeah, it's not really needed at all. Okay. Pathfind to interaction hook, load direction, and then we have all our updates and all that. Okay, so let's split the interaction first of all. Action is done, stack is complete, handle direction. Okay, store pathfinder data. Store target node. Okay, so let's leave this at that. We have our grid object, which we can derive from unit controller. Now we can say what is going to be using any pathfinding and what is going to be using interactions inside a level. I think it's pretty safe to assume that everything that has an interaction is going to be a player or a character or something like that. Okay, so something living. Then we can separate our grid objects between living and not living. For example, a kitchen is not going to be a living object, obviously. So let's find all our other interactions. For example, we have our interaction hook, and as you can see, we start sharing a few things already. Let's find it again. Interaction hook, pin this as well, and I'm going to pin the controller as well. So if we change our interaction hook to a grid object, then we can get rid of the get current node as well. Okay, item times, yeah, with this we can work fine. Okay, so let's see, I think we only have two hooks. We also have the hook for our objects that go up and down. then that will be connection logic, connection node, direction stack. Yeah, connection node. So connection node again is going to be a grid object. As you can see, we eliminate a lot of unnecessary calls, or a lot of code that is pretty much the same thing in this case. Okay, grid position doesn't need anything. It's just for us to create the grids. Okay. So that's a little bit of a cleanup. I think we could probably, actually this can go into a main method. Okay. And then we could be getting references from that. First of all, let's see where this is getting called out. When we load an action, find direction of item. Let's see. Colliders, for its colliders. Get component. Yeah, okay. So this will find you in interaction, but this assumes that you also want to go there. Pathfind to interaction hook. Okay. So that is a lot of assumptions. I think we might have to split this. So find interaction of item. It should be returning an interaction hook. Okay, so let's do that. Let's split all of this, and we could just add this in the game manager, I guess, or we could just make a new script, but I think we don't even have a lot of things already in here. So let's do void start and awake, then make this into a public static game manager. Okay, then we're going to copy this, not cut it, and we're going to paste this in here for now. So automatically we're going to see what we want to be returning. This is an interaction hook, so let's change this into interaction hook. Then that means we need a result. And then return result. Okay. And the transform.position, of course, is wrong to pass, so we need to be passing the origin position, which is going to be placed here, and I think for the rest it's good. So back to our unit controller, we can delete this, but we have to keep in mind we want to also pathfind to the interaction hook. Okay, so now where we are going to get those errors, which will be inside our, well, let's see. Let's open this here. Okay. Here we are. So how this will be now is we should have an item or interaction hook. Okay, get the hook, and we get the hook from the game manager dot singleton dot find interaction hook of item type of unit dot, well, we can do get current node dot wall position as well instead of transform dot position. Now if hook is not null, we're going to do what we were doing already, and if it's null, then we should be basically going to the next one actually. Okay, so we could just say delete that and delete that. then if hook is not null, do a return. But first, of course, we need to load this on the unit controller, and we basically need a way to assign a current interaction hook, and then we want to have him pathfind to interaction hook. So we're going to say public void load interaction from hook. We're going to pass the interaction hook. Okay, then in here we're going to say current interaction hook equals hook, and then pathfind to interaction hook, and we can delete this. Back to the where was it? Check item for inventory. Back to check item for inventory. Unit dot load interaction from hook, and we pass the hook, and here we go. That's pretty much it. We have the exact same behavior, but now it's fail proof. So even if there is no hook, we're still going to just move on to the next action stack. And here, however, you could just say, instead of just loading the next interaction stack, we could say to do play, I don't know, animation. Okay, something that tells us something is happening. So let's collapse that. Now I think it wouldn't make any difference if we hit play now. It will be exactly the same thing as we had before, apart that this is not working. Okay, so let's see why it's not working. First of all, we need to know that this is happening over here, and okay, I think we deleted more than we had to. Let's see, we have our current interaction hook, and we pathfind to interaction hook, request to pathfind, and so on and so on. So this should have been working, but maybe these have broken their scripts because we replaced them. And yeah, they left with grid objects instead of unit controllers. Okay, so let's remove the grid object and let's add the unit controller, and let's move this below. Come on. Okay, so we're going to have to add the interaction slider, I guess. Let's see. We'll add this dynamically as well. So where's our canvas? It should be, it's down here. Let's bring this, and you know what, let's make an empty game object and just drop all of this stuff that we don't really need. Let's drop them under one object. Level. Okay, and we can delete it. Okay, so under our canvas we have, we're just going to keep one, then we're going to create a UI manager. Okay, then we're going to have a reference to our game object, and let's call this slider prefab. Okay, then we're going to have, well, we need this to be a static UI manager, of course, so we can access it easily. Then we can have a reference to the game object, request or get debug slider. Okay, then all we're going to do is instantiate. Actually, we don't even need that. We can just say return instantiate slider prefab. Actually, no, yeah, we need it. Game object geo instantiate slider prefab geo.transform.parent equals this dot. Well, let's just use this one. Okay, then return geo. Technically, we should be changing its scale as well, but whatever. Let's just leave it at that. Okay, so back to the unit controller. We can delete this safely for now. Let's create regions. Let's call them loads. And let's close that region. And I actually want to cut this and put them down. As you can see, we do have a lot of things that are loading, so it makes sense we have just a region for them. Load interaction, load next action, load interaction stack, load direction from hook, load interaction from direction hook. And that's a little bit, I think that's coming from a callback, so that's why we had it here, and it does indeed. So we're going to say load interaction from interaction hook, and we're going to assign first a callback. Okay, so we know that its intended use it's for a callback and not because it's from this. Okay, because this one has, okay, let's rename this. So let's say callback load interaction from stored interaction hook. Okay, I can't make it more clear than that. So this will also load, this will load the interaction hook from here into, yeah, I guess load from interaction from hook and oops, and store will be the better name for this. Okay, and that will be the current interaction. And so on. Okay, this will be clear for now. Pathfinder interaction hook. We have the update. I think I like to have them to have this into its own method. For example, we can have another region for callbacks. Okay, and I think that's also a callback. We can have a region for grid movement. As you can see, all of these are up to that. And region and travel up and travel down is also the correct way. And this can now just go, well, let's take this and add this in here. And the assign random grid position is something that should go on the game manager, but I think we just not really going to ever need it. Okay, same, well, the get random neighbor path, we're going to need it. Load store path, it's a callback for the Pathfinder, so let's just add it in the Pathfinder. And of course, store Pathfinder data and so on should be here. And again, this should be in this path. Okay, so let's also take this as well and move it above on the grid movement. Okay, so to do, move this to game manager. Of course we can do this now, but whatever. I don't remember what this is doing, the reverse. No target, assign random grid position. Yeah, it's for the random grid position, so whatever. Doesn't matter. Yeah, it's for going up and down. Okay, doesn't matter. So, okay, we have all of this. Let's create our canvas for the UI slider prefab and so on, so on. Of course, it is. So apparently it unfreeze and I didn't know what I was doing. So whatever. And of course we don't do edits here. We just do work. So we needed the UI manager, and here it is. Let's rename this to debug slider. Of course we won't have a need for this slider on the final game, but we could reuse this slider for other things in the future. For example, when you have a skill going or something like that. Now, for now, we're just going to go on the unit controller. Let's collapse everything, and then we're going to have to assign the interaction slider and the integer slider. Well, the interaction slider, we're going to have to assign them via code. So we don't need them to be public. I'm just going to move them below. I don't like seeing the private variables first. So on start, as you can see, we do not have interaction slider, and this is not going to, well, first of all, this is not needed anymore. We're going to have to just leave this over here, and then we could just say interaction slider equals UI manager dot singleton dot get or request, oh come on, debug slider dot transform, of course, then interaction slider get component children, and so on and so on. Now technically this is a debug slider. Well, okay, for now let's just leave this at that. We don't really care for the random node either, and we do have a load interaction on stack, and we're going to have to assign a stack over there. Okay, let's see what this error is. And yeah, okay, this is wait for timer to finish. We do need a reference to this slider or a way to have this. Okay, so well, for the most part we don't really need this, to be honest, either. So but we do use it now. So let's say public void set interaction slider status bool status, and we could probably also say float value. Okay, then we can say interaction slider dot set active or get game object set active status, and interaction slider dot value equals value. Okay, so set interaction slider values true and timer. Same with this grid object. We should probably rename this. Set interaction slider value false and of course 0. Now this one is a special call, so we're going to need a new method, public void set interaction slider max value float value or max value. Okay, then we're going to say interaction slider max value equals max value. Okay, so let's see how we are on time. We are about 30 minutes in. Let's see if these boring things actually start working, and also we need to enable the debug slider now that I see it, because we have it disabled after we have created this. Wait a minute. We have the interaction slider. Yeah, we have to be using this one instead of this one, because we're moving the pivot around, I guess. Let's see. Debug slider transform. Yeah, this is the pivot. Well, technically it's not wrong, but I guess it doesn't really matter either. So let's delete this one, and we're going to be accessing from here. Yeah, basically we already have this, so we could just say set direction status as well over here if we want to. Okay, so let's see if this is working, and then we can continue. I think though we're going to do that on the next part. We're going to create a needs framework so they can actually have their own needs and go and pick up, you know, interact with the fridge to get food and so on and so on. Now on the unit, we have our unit controller, we have our movement speed, okay, and all we need is the stack index. So yeah, I think that will do it. Let's hit play, and we should have exactly the same thing that we had before for the most part. I don't know what's doing over there. I don't know why it went like that, but this is definitely a problem. But it has to go with this. Yeah, I think that has to do with the rotation speed though. So let's see. Maybe not. What's weird, we didn't actually change anything. What the? Yeah, okay. Let's take this. Let's see, handle movement. With timer, position, axis speed. From target position to start position, this is normalized. So why are you even now? That's annoying. Well, this is pretty clear, but this is not. Yeah, that's kind of annoying, because I thought we had this problem. So, well, okay, there's one way to fix this. is to actually just use a breakpoint for this one, and rotation speed should be 0.2 unless I'm not seeing. Yeah, that's rotation speed, so why? Who knows? Anyway, let's hit play, and once we have the problem again, we don't need this. Continue. Okay, now let's go and add some breakpoint inside our unit controller. If we're fast enough, here it is. Just put it here and it will show. So, start position to target position, that's pretty clear. It's the, yeah, it moves from node to node, so that's no problem. Start rotation to target rotation. Yeah, okay, that's a quaternion, so we're not really going to find a lot of things for this. Rotation speed by delta. I think the only thing that we actually change is when we assign or when we get the interaction to change. Let's see. Check for item in inventory. Yeah, so the only thing that we change is we actually get the wall position of the current node. So let's try using transfer.position. Apart from that, this will add the action. This will add the interaction from hook. I don't think we have anything different. And I also don't see the connection. So let's see. Let's try this. Don't think it's going to make any difference, but I guess. We'll just have to see. Yeah, it doesn't make any difference at all. I don't get it, to be honest. So the only thing that could, or well, my assumption is, if it's something that has to do with that, is it tries to recalculate the start position and the target position again. I have no idea why that will be, because we are getting the start position and the target position. All this is, yeah, I have no idea. All this is pretty basic for this to be having a problem. So, okay, so give me some seconds. Okay, so let's put a pause to this, because I really can't find a solution right now, and I don't see the connection between the two. So screw this. So let's pause, and on the next part we're going to find a solution. But yeah, we're also going to work on our needs framework, which is basically saying he's hungry, he's going to go on to food, and then he's going to go to sleep, and so on and so on. So, as always, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and if you like to see more videos like this, well, more finished videos like this, you know the deal by now. Your help with Patreon, well, it's a really big help, and pretty much the only reason why I could still be able to make videos, and so on and so on. So on the next one, we're going to do needs, which is something I actually really like to do and I really want to do for this Chimps, because we are venturing into more AI territory, although not really AI, it's still artificial. Anyway, I'll see you on the next part.